All right. For those of you who are fans of the On Location show, you know how much I love people who rise to the top of their careers by embracing cutting edge tech, or those people who start their career in one sector of the industry and end up in a completely different part of the industry. But my favorite is someone who does both. And that's my next guest. He started out playing jazz trumpet. Very cool. And then moved into theater production. Awesome. Not exactly sure how you go from jazz trumpet to sets up you for theater production, but somehow he did it. He is now the assistant engineer at Fletcher Sports, which is an NEP specialty capture group. And if you're unfamiliar with the name Fletcher, you definitely have seen the results of their cutting edge camera technology on almost every major sporting event and concert. So without further ado, as they say, welcome, Mike Musselman. What's up, brother?
Not too much, man. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And we've talked about this 100 times. You have the coolest last name ever.
Thank you. Gives you certain expectation you have to live up to, but other than that, it's a good one to have.
Yeah, you do expect some big WWE dude showing up. It's like a Vince McMahon last name, but someday we'll talk about it, the derivation of that name, because I love names. So, yeah. But we're not going to do that today. All right. So before we get into that unusual path that you took to get to where you are and some of the unusual places you stopped and hung out, let's talk about Fletcher. Give us an overview of what Fletcher does and does. Sorry, Italian East Coast. Go through Fletcher a little bit for us, and then talk about the specialty that you're involved in, which is a deeper aspect of Fletcher, which is tracer.
Yep. So Fletcher is a specialty camera and robotics company. Our tagline is sports from a different perspective. And so what that can mean is it might be the camera above the rim for basketball, or inside the nets for hockey. So we do all sorts of different remotely operated cameras for every sport you can imagine. And, we do concerts and some political things. We also are big into high-speed cameras. So we were kind of some of the early adopters of high-speed cameras for sports, and we still do a decent amount of that as well. My particular project that I spend a lot of my time with, as you mentioned, is called Trace. And this is kind of a whole different addition of technology that incorporates into all the specialty robotic stuff that we do. And what Trace is, it is an automated camera system designed for tennis. And it uses a combination of lidar and AI technology to automatically follow a tennis player on the court. And so what that allows us to do is we can cover a match with a single operator using 4 cameras as opposed to 4. And that gets used on some of the Grand Slams, Wimbledon, US Open. We've used it on the Women's Tour. What it allows us to do is offer a high quality of coverage with good cameras and great coverage at a price that makes it possible for broadcasters to produce that content.
And one of the things that I've learned, being around all of this for a while, when people start saying robotics and one guy operates 4 cameras, I've been around too long. When people start freaking out over technology, it's going to replace us, we're not going to be there. So the 2 things I just want to make sure we make a point of is it changes some of the operators, but it also, let's talk US Open. A lot of those outer courts never got covered. So a lot of those courts couldn't get covered because, as you said, cost effectively, you couldn't. It was impossible to have that many operators, that many cameras. But now you have all those feeds available to everybody. So yeah, it moved people out of the way. And if you don't keep up with tech, that's your fault. You will get obsoleted somewhere along the line. But let's talk about those other courts, those other opportunities that are there. When you say robotics, people remember a lot of our listeners and watchers or whatever they're called are not familiar with what a robotic camera. They think robot. Somewhere there's a robot running this. It kind of just walk us through what that is.
Yeah, sure. So robo is the vernacular for what we tend to call it as robo guys in the industry, but a more appropriate term would probably be a remote camera head. So the idea is it's on a small head. You have a small, a block type camera with a lens, and it gets operated by a joystick instead of standing right behind the camera. So you've got your pan, tilt, zoom, and focus controls sitting down at a desk, operating with a joystick. It's not a robot. It's not gonna, become intelligent and take over the world or anything crazy like that.
And just recently, you guys incorporated the buzzword of the industry right now is AI. Actually, it's the buzzword of the world. So you're starting to move AI in. How does AI incorporate or advance what Trace already does?
Yeah, so our original recipe, if you will, for Trace was based on using lidar, which is light detection and ranging, to 3D map the court and then find the outline of a player as someone you would want to track, and then differentiating between players or between a player and a line judge or a player and a ball kid. We were relying on color. So we have like reference cameras that we'd use, and we would be comparing colors. Like, is it the same shirt? Basically using all the different color values. With AI, we've been able to get much smarter than that, where it's looking at the images on the court and it's determining whether it's even a tennis player or not. And if it's not a tennis player, that's not even someone that we're going to consider to track, to follow as a target, because you're always going to want to follow the players. And as AI gets better, we can add additional elements to help touch up framing, to help better differentiate between individual players when it's a double situation, to say, oh, this guy's hot, I really want to follow that guy, or we're only going to follow the guy that's at the baseline versus the net. So it just really makes it more robust in terms of how specific you want to get about the targets that you're tracking.
And how do you machine learning? How do you get it more information? And I don't want the secret recipes here, and I don't want to get into, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole deep, but how you're getting data. The basic of AI for everything is data. It has to have a database. The bigger the database, the smarter the AI can operate in. Where are you collecting that database for AI from?
So we're just doing it, manually. So when we go out and work events, we are recording footage of our cameras that are in those net positions, and then we are, bringing that back on a hard drive or sending it, through the internet to our AI learning, and then that gets annotated, manually again. So a person draws a box and says, yeah, this is what we're looking for, this is not. And then it gets run through the AI training program. The pie in the sky is that ultimately it will get to a point where it can learn actively. We're not quite there yet with what we're doing, but there will hopefully be a time where we can just send footage to a cloud anytime that something is struggling, it's not performing the way we want, and it will automatically just be constantly updating itself. But for now, it's a manual process of us, recording that footage onto a recorder and then sending that specific footage into the AI training.
This is so cool. I'm a tech geek, but I listen to this. First off, I'm just so pumped about AI, period. I just think It's the greatest assistant that anybody's ever had in every aspect. And I'm just limited to production. But what you guys are doing is crazy cool. I love the fact that it's able to do that. And the funny thing is, how big is your engineering department that's coding all of this?
Well, so our engineering department consists of two people. Our actual engineer, Dwayne, who has written all of this software, by himself, and then me. I'm not an engineer by trade. I didn't go to engineering school, but I've learned a lot from him. And then I handle all of the field implementation, and I feed all that information back to him in terms of how it's going and collect all the footage to do the training.
Nice.
So it's a very small, a very lean but mean team.
That's the best. Those are the best. I look at them as, and I never like to do analogies to warriors, but SEAL teams can do a lot more than a battalion can do. So I like small teams of highly trained, highly motivated people. What's your passion? How did you decide that this was going to be a cool place for you to land?
So I think the passion for me is in storytelling. So that kind of tracks across, not to like jump out of order, but like a lot of the things that I have done. So being involved, in music has an element of that. In theater, obviously, you're telling a story, but like sports and broadcast has that very much as well. Like, what's the story of the U.S. Open? Like, who's coming up through the ranks? Like, who are we featuring? What's going on in this match? And other sports as well. That's what really interests me, and figuring out the technical ways to best highlight those things is exciting. To be a part of that and to be able to be innovative and try things and work really nimbly is cool.
That's awesome. That was such a great answer. Storytelling, because that's not what people would think. Yeah, I work with a lot of up and coming out of college, big name schools. None of them think storytelling has anything to do with other than writing a script or directing. That's the only two things that have story. But as you and I know, go to a camera meeting before a sporting event. What's talked about? What's the story of the game, right?
Yeah. And what's everybody's assignment? How are we going to best tell that story?
Yeah, it's really cool. And using this tech is awesome. So now we've kind of opened the door here. So I'm going to walk through it. So you started out as a jazz trumpeter and then kind of moved into, kind of walk us through. And now we're going to speak to a lot of the people who are coming up who think that what you come out of school thinking you want to be, that's where you have to end up when you're in your 40s and your 50s. And quite honestly, none of us did. So, I'm an environmental major at the University of Wisconsin and a funk bass player. Has nothing to do with where I am now. Jazz trumpeter, engineer on cutting edge tech. So give me that path.
Yeah. So I had played music all the way through, fourth grade or whenever they first let you pick an instrument, and loved the trumpet, played it all the way through, got to college, wanted to, study jazz, wanted to be a jazz musician. And I spent 3 of my 4 years studying that primarily. But also, my campus job was working for the theater production staff. And so we would, set up the tech for whatever was going on. If there was concerts coming in at the university, if there were plays that they were putting on, and that was basically my way to make money. But I found I enjoyed that, and just through networking, doing that, I was starting to get work like professionally almost immediately. I was a freshman, I'm 18 years old, and somebody's like, "Oh, hey, I'm going out of town. I need someone to sub at this theater in Chicago. Like, I need you to run a spotlight for me for a week." And so I'm like, "Yeah, great, I can do that." And so at some point, it kind of clicked with me. It's like, hey, I'm doing pretty good with this. Like, there's maybe more of a career here. Being a musician it's really tough to monetize that. You got to be the absolute best of the best. And so when I got to my senior year, I made the switch. I went to tech theater. I still loved music, and so audio was the thing that I was involved in at the time the most. I had to study everything, lighting, staging, um, set construction, but audio was the thing I was the most passionate about, and that's what I kind of wanted to do. So from that, then I spent quite a few years freelancing in the Chicago market, doing all sorts of jobs. So I would still do things like Spotlight. I would do carpentry jobs. I would do props, kind of working my way through the ranks, trying to get to audio. And then I got an opportunity to be an A2 for a while, which is for theater, it is basically like, a wireless mic tech. I would do a lot of big musicals where you might have to frequency coordinate like 42 lavs and all the comms and everything. And so doing that, I got a pretty good handle on RF, which served me later down. But then eventually got myself up to A1, where I was mixing shows and really enjoyed doing that. But after a couple of years doing that, my son was born, and we wanted my wife to kind of step down to part-time work, and I needed a full-time gig with a more steady schedule and good insurance. And so I went back to the university I'd gone to, North Central College, and I worked there as a tech manager for their venues. And that was really great because I got the opportunity then to work with a student staff of about 40 kids. We had 4 venues on campus, and I got to teach them everything I had learned going there and then through my years of experience in the industry, all the lighting, sound, staging, all of that, and did that for a few years. But then kind of got to a point where there was kind of nowhere to go within that structure at the university. So I was looking for the next thing, and just at the perfect time, I learned about the opportunity to come work for Fletcher, where I am now, and work in broadcast. So I came to the shop. I kind of saw what it was all about, saw some of the equipment, and decided to kind of just make the jump. So I didn't know anything about cameras at the time, like literally nothing. And I kind of learned from the ground up at the shop. So I started out, cleaning fiber. I learned the robotics a little bit, the remote heads. Then I learned the cameras, and after a couple years doing that, I heard about this thing called Trace that we were working on, and they decided to add me to the team with Dwayne working on that, and that's where my learning from the engineering side really kind of skyrocketed and kind of got me to where I am now.
There's a bunch of stuff that I need to unpack in there, because
yeah, that was a bit of I just kind of went.
So here's wow. Okay. One of the things I kept hearing was, and then I went and tried this. Then this opportunity came, so I did that. But I didn't hear I was trained to do that. You just stepped up and kind of learned, all right, I'll do that. You want me to do a follow spot? Oh, okay. I'll figure out how to do a follow spot. Is that what you would point to, not just you, but anyone's success, is that you got to always keep stepping into the deep water and don't hesitate if you don't know?
Absolutely. Yeah. My philosophy coming out of school was that I was just going to say yes and try any opportunity I got. 'Cause even if it's not the the ultimate thing you want to do, if you can do whatever that thing is, if it's a spotlight or whatever, and you can, you know, figure out how to do it well, and show that you have a good work ethic. You don't know who's watching, who you're working with, that's going to later on say, oh, I really liked working with that person. I want them to do this for me now. And then that's another opportunity. And you say, yeah, I can do that. And you just learn as you go as best you can. And just always make sure you're putting that effort in. You're learning the skills as you go. And that's, I think, the key to success. You can't be afraid to put yourself out there. Otherwise, you can never take the next step.
Yeah, and you're touching on the other point. Those are the two. You're balancing the two things I talk about all the time. Is networking. Is you have to have a passionate want, desire. You need to have that personality. You need to be able to develop that. You come into the pro ranks, and if you come in either thinking you know everything, you're going to get shut down, or so timid that you're afraid of everything, you're going to get shut out. But if you find that middle ground, because you have to network, you said it perfectly. People watch all the time, and they're like, I like working with that person. We can teach people just about anything with aptitude. You can't teach the camaraderie, the collaboration that's needed to be in this part of the world.
Yeah, and you're always surprised how small industries are.
Yeah.
Broadcast, theater, it's all tight-knit groups of people. You always want to put your best foot forward because you never know who's watching. So it can work the other way as well. If you didn't maybe do a great job, or if you're not showing up on time, like, word's going to get around.
Right.
And then you're suddenly not going to have work again. So you always want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward.
Yep. And if you said it, I mean, if you have a bad work ethic, I don't care how good you are. I can't hire you because I can't count on you. Or if you're somebody who's going to disrupt the crew, I can't hire you because I can't function that way. But the other side of it is, if you screw up, that doesn't mean anything. It's over. I mean, some of my stories are horrific that people can't believe that I've been able to do it. I blew the sound system out at Carnegie Hall an hour before showtime. I'm still here. I'm still functioning. I was at the Garden working a Bowie concert, and I pissed off a union guy who shut the Garden down. I didn't do it on purpose. I just did it because I was naive to where the stage was and what was part of house and all that other stuff. But I recovered, and you keep moving forward. I mean, I could go on. The list of stupid things that I did along the way are amazing. But you recover. And I'm sure you've had more than your share of oops, especially because we work live, and live is, there's no retaking in live.
Yeah. If it happens live and it didn't go well, it's over now. By the time it's happened, it's already done. So yeah, especially with working for Fletcher, and we're always innovating. We're always trying new things, new camera angles. Like, there's going to be some failure in there. There's going to be like the dirt cam. So for Major League Baseball, we do the cameras in the dirt. And some of the early tests with that that I was involved in, where the grounds crew comes in and they water it and it short circuits, or the umpire comes out and he wants to test it, and he's is it safe, and he's stomping on it and he crushes the prism right before we're gonna go on air, and you're running around, and it's like, oh gosh, or for me with the in-net cameras for hockey that I work with as well. Some of the early testing when we made our first high-speed version of that camera, where we're having issues with RF, or we're having issues with the camera, and I'm running out there, I'm trying to fix it, and all of a sudden you come face to face with a goalie, and you're like, ooh, I better get out of here. Like, I guess it's not going to work this period. Like, I'll get it next time.
Yeah, those are
You know,
those are the hazards that nobody else knows about, but those of us in there, when you're trying to keep things going and then realize, oh, I could get really hurt here.
yeah, yep. It's time's up. This is a live event. I'll get it on the next time. You know.
Oh, those are great. And do you get to make those calls to it's go out and do it, or is that coming from someone else, or is it a combination?
Well, it really depends on the venue. When you're doing things that are in the field of play, you have to establish a relationship with, the grounds crew or the ice crew or whoever's in charge of that field of play, to know when are you able to go out and do things and when are you not allowed to go out and do things. Because you don't want to get on their bad side, because then the amount of opportunities you have to work on gear are going to get less and less. They're not going to want to accommodate you if you don't come to them first and establish a relationship and make sure you know what you can and can't do.
Awesome. We're running close to time here, but I got so many questions I want to ask. Let's talk a little bit about where new ideas come from, both within Fletcher and outside, or in your own experiences. Fletcher seems to have a new camera or a new angle, or a new a new system, like every other week. Who's feeding all of that information?
So it comes from all over, really. There will be certain things that will maybe come from a client request. Last year is a good example. CBS Super Bowl, the Doink Cam, which they kept talking about on the broadcast. That was something that CBS came to us and said, we want to put a slow-mo 4K camera in the goalposts in case there's any close call with a field goal. And so we said, okay, let's see what we can figure out. And so we went and we found the company with the camera we thought that was best. And we explained to them the project, and we worked really close with them, and we were able to come up with a solution. Other times it just comes internally within Fletcher. Any of our staffers or any of our great freelancers in the field may be working on a show and have an idea of a way to make something better, or come up with an idea of a camera angle. And if it's something that we think we can do, then we're going to do it. And we'll try that. Trace was something that was a request from ESPN, where they had tried to work with similar things, not exactly what we do, but they're saying, hey, can you do this? Because we really want it to do this, and we want it to have broadcast cameras. And that was one where, we weren't doing anything with automation or computers or anything like that. So that was a big development for us. But we said, yeah, we can do it. And it took a while, I think maybe 2 years of development before we brought a proof of concept out. But we knew that there was enough work there with automation. And we knew that's something that's going to be requested more and more as we go forward, that we needed to take that step at that time and work on that project.
Does Fletcher touch on any Hollywood version? Because a lot of what I listen, watch the technology, and I'm thinking, man, this is a Lucas thing. This is a Spielberg thing. I mean, there's a lot of Hollywood production, all that left coast stuff. There's natural places for this stuff to exist. Have you ever, you as a company, ever made any inroads in that world?
So Fletcher used to be much more involved in film and cinema and things like that. So this was before my time, so I don't know the exact what happened, but at a certain point that got split off from Fletcher Sports, and it got sold to a different company.
Got it.
They wanted to really focus in on what we're doing with sports here, and so we're not too involved with it anymore.
Yeah. Again, sports is such a broad scoped, high production value of, and the angles that people don't even understand, like some of the stuff they're getting to see. It's amazing to those of us who are in the business, and we look at a shot and go, how the heck did that happen? Where did they even, where's that camera? How did they see that? And it's pretty amazing to me how it goes. What do you see the future of? Let's talk the two verticals. Let's talk what you see Fletcher has in, without giving away any secrets. Where's Fletcher heading in that area of sports coverage, sports capture?
Yeah, so I think one thing is that we'll continue to see requests to add automation to new sports. So tennis is our main thing right now, but with streaming services, the demand for content is so high that they want to try and find ways to produce that content, content that doesn't exist now. So it's all new work, which is great, in a way that they can actually afford to do it. And so that's one thing where the AI that we're incorporating is going to help us to train models to do different camera assignments, to do different sports. And I think that's one area where we can potentially really grow. The other sort of buzz, hot thing within broadcast now is remote production or centralized production, depending on what they want to call it. I think there's going to be more and more of a request to move some of the things that we do with remote cameras off-site, where maybe one person is going to go set up a handful of robos, and then they'll be the person that's maintaining them on site, but then operating them happens off-site. And especially with the automation projects as well, where you don't have to necessarily be operating them as much, but someone who's managing what the targets are for tracking and things like that. I can see that being an area where if we can kind of really crack that could be potential for a lot of work for different applications.
Yeah, that hybrid, all of this started. It was coming. 2020 made it happen like it now. I would say I was expecting maybe 10 years, when I was 2019, I would have projected all of this for about 10 years out. 2020 came and it happened in 2 years. Everybody just forced that. So everybody's remote, as is, so the world is. And the other thing is, let's talk about just the industry itself. What do you see the industry looking like? Somebody coming out of school or somebody deciding to go into the industry at 19, 20, where do you think they should move into, or what should they start looking to do? How do they, find, solid ground to start their path as you did?
Yeah, so I think just like having a good understanding of computers and IP and that sort of thing is going to give you a foundation that you can move to a lot of different disciplines within broadcast pretty easily. Everything is a computer now. Your car is a computer, but within broadcast, there's very few things that are simple, like copper wire from here to here now. All of the broadcast trucks are IP based. All of the the replay machines are going that way. Whatever it is you specifically want to do, having an understanding in that is going to give you a leg up over someone who maybe just knows how to operate the equipment like on the surface level.
Yeah, there it is. That's my exit point right there. To understand the technology and have a good insight as to what it is, that's what gives you a leg up as an operator. Because if you're just an operator, you're going to get obsoleted pretty quick. And, and you said it, IP is definitely the place. You have to understand all that. You started out wanting to be in audio. Audio today has nothing to, my rig is all analog. I love analog. I love being able to grab a knob and turning it. But when I'm working outside of this, any A1 gig, anything I'm on, the desks are completely different. Switchers, video switchers, completely different. The terminology, the basis of it are the same, but the interface isn't. And if you don't have a tech understanding of what it is you're playing with, you're going to get lost quick, because when stuff crashes, and it does, you don't know how to recover. So yeah, great words of wisdom. Mike, I got to go, but this was sick. Unbelievable. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And our mutual connection, which is my son, your coworker, Frank, definitely called it. He said, you guys got to meet. You're going to get it off as just people, but you also have basically the same tech paths and the same industry push. So shout out to Mike.
Yeah, so glad. Yeah, so glad he suggested it. Thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, bro. And you know what? We have another show, and I know I keep saying I'm done. I know we have another show that we just kicked off. We just finished our third episode, but we got more, and it literally focuses on AI. It's all about, the first show was almost just a one out. Turn the fear off. Stop being afraid of AI. It's not coming to take your job. It's coming to make your life better and easier and more effective. And then all of a sudden we realized it was a series. So I'd like to have you back at some point on that show. And, it's a more of a focus on not the deep Dwayne level AI, but that would be awesome. But it's just how AI makes a presence in our world. So keep that in mind. We'll figure out a schedule for that. All right, brother. Take care.
Yeah. You too.
Right.